Alright, hello everybody, and welcome to this video. So this is going to be some post-commentary on the run that I just had yesterday, May 3rd. So today, May 4th, as of today, this is the world record for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 on the console. Currently, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 leaderboards are split into PC and console due to the load differences between PC and console. Frankly, there are a lot of load differences between the different consoles too, like the PlayStation 5, the PlayStation 4, the Nintendo Switch, different Xboxes, but yeah, currently just split between PC and console. So to start off, this commentary is just going to be explaining some of the things that I do in this run, just to try to give you a better idea of how the run works, why I make certain decisions, whether or not I flubbed certain parts really badly, that kind of thing. As a little bit of context, currently, or I guess before this run, the world record holder for console on Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 was Sage of Keyblades. He's playing on the PS5, and that's one of the two big differences. Two big differences between my run and his. I'm playing this on the PS4 and he's playing on the PS5, so his load times are faster than mine. And the other key difference is that I play as a Majin. It's the pink Boo kind of race from Dragon Ball. And he plays as a Saiyan. And why that's such a big thing is that at one point in the gameplay, in order to progress to move on to the next mission, you have to unlock your race-specific transformation. And to do that as a Saiyan, you have to do, I think, 3 different... Well, first you have to fight Vegeta a couple times, and then you have to fight Vegeta and Goku, and then Vegeta and Goku again, basically. Whereas, for a Majin to unlock their race-specific transformation, you have to buy food, feed Majin Buu a bunch, and then beat him again, and 3 small Boos. So, you know, the more missions that you have to do, essentially, and of course it depends on the mission itself, but the more missions you have to do, the longer it's going to take, you know? And so, that's why I stand by Majin being the fastest race in which to do this. So that's why you saw me pick that. And then like my height and my bulkiness, I made myself as short as possible and like as thick as possible. And that's basically making yourself shorter, I believe, decreases your maximum health, but it makes you faster. And making yourself bulkier makes your ki blasts weaker, but your physical attacks, like your basic attacks, more powerful. So that was my thinking. So here we actually start the timer and we're off. Yeah, so currently, again, as of today, May 4th, when I'm recording this, may the 4th be with you, everybody, I hold the world record for the PC category of this, and my older brother's moving, and he was just getting rid of things, and so I got his PS4, and I'm like, cool, you know what I'm gonna do with that? I'm gonna buy Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 and see how well I can do on the console. So here we are. So yeah, my biggest challenge with this run in trying to get world record was basically the PS4's load times competing with the PS5's load times. Because again, I do strongly believe that Majin is a faster race just because of that transformation split. Like otherwise, if it weren't for that split, I would say play the race that's most comfortable for you. You know, just where you're beating people the most consistently and as fast as you can. But because of that transformation split, I have to stand by saying I think it's just faster to play as a Majin if you're doing everything else, you know, as well as possible. Like, are there Majin players who would do more poorly than players of other races? Absolutely. But, you know, that's looking at it from like a player-to-player kind of standpoint, and not, if we're taking everything like as ideally as possible, what's the fastest? And I just think that Majin holds that. So at this first part, there's really nothing that you can change. You have to go and talk to those 3 random NPCs in that order, and then you have to run up and talk to Elder Kai in order to start this first mission. Until you do this, until you beat Raditz, you can't access any of the shops, you can't use any of the like transfer shop clerks, you can't do any parallel quests, like nothing is active in the game until you beat this. So I didn't do this fight super well. You can see that he vanished behind me and I flew forward instead of going back to hit him by mistake, and then he got a few hits on me. But overall, it wasn't terrible. A lot of times I just have to judge some of these fights by the dialogue that passes. And like the dialogue box that we reached, it wasn't the worst. Obviously, a single dialogue box can stay up for several seconds, so it's hard to say for sure, but you know, you get like a loose judge of the time. From here, this is something that I don't remember if I did it quite this way in my PC run. But what I'm going to do here is you have to pick the hero first off after you skip through all these cutscenes. And you can see with all of these cutscenes, all of these load times, and when you see it like autosave too, that's also affected by the load speed, just in general. And we'll see that at one point in particular in the run where I purchase a lot of levels from Tosak. But the big thing that I did differently here that I think I did in my PC run is I went straight up to fight Yamcha, his like mentor initiation, and then I asked him to be my instructor, and then I fought him again. And the point of doing that is once you fight someone after you've asked them to be your instructor, when you're done with that second fight, you'll immediately be back in the Patroller Academy. And so from there, I just ran straight, talk to Elder Kai, and then do the transfer shop clerk to go and actually do the parallel quest. But you'll see all that in a minute. Again, these load times are ridiculously long, and realistically, it would be better for the game as a whole, just like as a speedrunning game, if we judged it without load times, and that was just a mistake. If you're not familiar with the PlayStation 4 controller, because I'm not, there's a tiny options button, which I guess is like the start button, and then right next to it, like immediately to the left of it, is this huge rectangular button, which I guess is also a touchpad? But, yeah, so I hit that by mistake. Anyway, I talked to her to get that Senzu Essence capsule, because it's worth, I believe, 1,500 if you sell it at the store, and that's not a ton of money, but right here at the beginning, it's, you know, it's somewhat significant, actually. Because currently, with the level I am, like, you know, under level 10, each level that I want to purchase from Tosak costs 500 Zeni. And so, getting that item from that girl really quickly, I can go sell that and then level up for free. Okay, not for free, for 1,500, you know, 3 times. I think 4 times overall with the money that I've earned from doing missions too. But the nice thing about that is that you end up at level, I believe about level 8 for the parallel quest. And why that's significant is because in the parallel quest, you know, it's you, 2 allies, well, and then you get a level 1 Krillin, like he's always level 1. But you and 2 allies, your allies are the same level as you are. And so if I went into the parallel quest level 4, both of my allies would also be level 4. Going in level 8, both of my allies are also level 8. And the parallel quests, like the difficulty, they don't scale with you. And so if you're more powerful, like if you're just better prepared for the parallel quest, then you're gonna do better, you know? That's my thinking, at least. So obviously it takes time to talk to her, then to sell the Senzu Essence capsule, to buy your levels, etc. But I think it's worth it overall. But you see, I made Yamcha my instructor there, and now I'm going to do the second lesson, or lesson 1, but the second fight with him. So that after I beat him here, it'll warp me automatically to the Patroller Academy, where I can talk to Elder Kai. I don't think that saves a lot of time over just vehicling over there, but I think it saves some time. It makes sense in my head. So if you're wondering why we're doing these initiations to begin with, because you don't need to do them in order to advance the story, well, basically there's one reason for it, and it's later in the run, much like the transformation part, how you just need to get the transformation in order to move on to the next mission. At one point, you need to get 15 TP medals just in order to be able to advance the story. So each, you can see right here, I just got 1. Each initiation that you do, or each mentor challenge fight thing that you do for the first time, along with each parallel quest you do for the first time, you get 1 TP medal. And so what you'll see me do in this run is I fought Yamcha twice here, so I got 2 TP medals from him. Now I'm going to do the parallel quest, which will get me a 3rd TP medal. And then a little later, I'm going to do Raditz's 2 training missions, so I can get 5 total. Now, why we do Yamcha specifically is because in this game, Yamcha and Krillin each have their own special little training thing. Krillin has you deliver milk, and Yamcha has you go out and do, like, the turtle stone hunt. Now, the Krillin thing sucks. Like, it's hard, and it's long, and it doesn't give you nearly as good a reward. But the Yamcha's, if he throws the stone in a nice way, like if the stone ends up on the island with him, the resort island up there, then it's an easy way to get 10 TP medals at once, and that'll give you your total of 15. So that's what we do. Now, I know I was talking over it, but as you saw, I was buying levels from Tosok after having sold the Senzu Essence capsule. And you might have noticed each time after I purchased a level, you could see like the green autosave symbol.
My turn?
So if the game is faster, like if your console is faster, then you're just going to be able to move through those more quickly, be able to talk to the NPC more immediately, select the dialogue options that you want to. So all in all, just a faster console, faster loading speeds, it really helps, even beyond just the loading screens and the cutscenes and all of that.
Activate that trusty scouter of yours, if you would. See all those items lying around? Well, pick them up.
In a lot of these missions, so like first you'll see it in several parts just throughout this parallel quest, but throughout the entire game, there are going to be several instances where I can only go so fast. Basically, a lot of the objectives for like the story missions are capped by dialogue. A certain amount of dialogue has to pass in order for the scene to actually progress, in order for you to move on to the next story mission. Currently, no one has found a way to get past that. No one has yet found a way to be like, all right, I beat the dude, let me move on to the next stage. You just kind of have to wait. There are some missions where it does matter how, like first, there are some missions where it's just beat the enemy as quickly as possible, cool, you did it. You know, as soon as they're KO'd, you move on. And there are other missions where you have to make the person reach a certain amount of health, and then like a specific bit of dialogue will begin, and then you have to wait out that dialogue. So, you know, a few different ways for the story missions to actually progress. And there's one mission even where you have to wait for an NPC ally to faint, and then you can move on. And the actual enemy is invincible. So it's interesting. I have no idea what happened right there. I knocked the Cyberman down. I vanished down to meet him, and he was falling in like slow motion, and so he didn't actually like, I didn't connect with him. It was unfortunate. But with this, you just beat them up as quickly as possible. So those two are down. Now we need to rush off and try to find that blue, I think it's the Kaiware man?
No, I'm sensing something else. Your scout can reveal hidden enemies.
There isn't a whole lot to this parallel quest. I mean, it's meant as a tutorial to just teach you like how to use your scouter to find items on the map and to locate like allies and enemies alike. And then it's just some basic fighting. Oh, with Krillin earlier, you know, showed you how to revive a downed ally if you were doing, you know, a mission with people. I'll say too right now that Kaiware man fight did not go well. What I usually like to do is hit him with a full strength combo, and then once he like bounces off the ground, just hit him with Meteor Crash. Also, if I say Meteor Charge throughout the run, I apologize. The skill is called Meteor Crash. For some reason, I have a hard time with that, and I'll just slip without realizing it. But yeah, just with where the Kaiware man is, his placement like in the map, just with like the geometry of everything, that's the best way that I found to beat him, but I really messed it up when I fought him here. So you beat these three fake people. Fake people as in like, they're supposed to represent characters that people, you know, custom characters people created, much like my patroller here. I don't know if they actually are, and they're just controlled by NPCs at this moment, or if they're just meant to represent characters that other people could create. I genuinely don't know. So, this part is the reason that I picked two Krillins to be my teammates, in case anyone was curious. And frankly, I'm still kind of trying to figure this part out. I don't know if this actually is as beneficial as I think, but there is... So, there's a certain amount of dialogue with this fight when you're fighting Yamcha and Tien. At one point, Elder Kai will say, talk about good timing, why don't you go down there and join them, or something, you know, right? Just telling you to train with these two. I think that if you beat Tien and Yamcha before he starts saying that, you get to avoid other dialogue. You can see right here, talk about good timing. Why don't you jump in there with him too? And then he'll just say, not too shabby. Yeah. But other times, Yamcha and Tien will start bantering with your teammates. So the reason I picked 2 Krillins is because, you know, you have to have at least 1 Krillin on your team because you, like, revive him. And so I wanted to minimize the opportunities for them to have extra dialogue because that just obviously takes more time. Also, really quickly here, this is very uncommon, what's coming up. I don't know if I've ever had quite this happen before. Yamcha is already offering a special class. I was really confused when on the white screen a message popped up, but it's Yamcha. So this is the turtle hunt that I was talking about. So immediately, you have to just adapt and do it. Whenever Yamcha's thing comes up, drop whatever you're doing and go do it. Because otherwise you might miss out. And if you miss out, there goes your run, basically. But you talk to him, you tell him you want to do it, he throws a stone, and then you look for a blue glowy item on the ground. You can still find normal items, but you just hope that whatever you find, like this, is the turtle stone. So I picked it up, hop back over. There you go. If you do it fast enough, you get 10 TP medals. And so you can see there too, I almost went and talked to the transfer shop clerk, but then I was like, never mind, I'll just boost off the edge because I needed to go to this shop anyway. I sell the Hercule badges that I got from that parallel quest, and now I'm going to go level up with Tosak again because the next missions I do are kind of time sensitive. Like, I have to be powerful enough to do something fast enough. I was trying to think if I know that I cut myself a little bit short because I wanted to talk about the turtle hunt, but I don't remember if I had more to say about the parallel quest at the end. But basically just, I don't know for sure if it works this way, but it seems like you have to beat Yamcha and Tien before Elder Kai says his, you know, why don't you go down and fight online, you know? Otherwise, though, yeah, I was testing with just various NPC allies that you could bring along with you to see whose dialogue might be the shortest, or if someone just didn't have dialogue with Yamcha and Tien. But yeah, leveled up. We talked to her because we just have to before moving on. Now I rush back over to the transfer shop clerk, go to the time nest, and this is why I talked to the little robot earlier after I spoke to the girl who gave me the Senzu Essence capsule, just so this bot was unlocked for me. If you weren't familiar, only a few of the transfer shop clerks are unlocked from the start. Or I guess, you know, most of them are unlocked from the start, but others you have to talk to initially for them to be like, beep boop, you've unlocked this location, you know? So you got to make sure to do that. But yes, this is the part where 2 of the missions are time sensitive. I'm trying to think of the specific lines of dialogue, but with the Nappa fight, well, basically with the Nappa fight and the Turles fight after it, there's a specific line of dialogue for each, and if you get Nappa or Turles, you know, respectively, down to half health before that line ends, then you save yourself 20 seconds and 30 seconds approximately and respectively, you know, between the 2. So, you know, I level up to make sure that I'm strong enough that I can do that. But see, he's under half health, so I'm getting to be a little more lax with it now. You know, I'm just focusing on doing like key blasts and throws to get my score higher, because your score in this game is equivalent to your experience. But yeah, something you'll notice at the end of this fight, like basically right before it gives me like the finish and I can move on to the next fight, you'll see Gohan saying, like, talking about red scary eyes, you know? Normally, that conversation would take place in the middle of the scene, but because we got Nappa to under half, like, look at those eyes, they're bright red. Because we got Nappa to under half health before a certain dialogue, we skipped that section. And again, it was like 20 seconds of dialogue, so it was good. And then here with Turles, we're going to have the same thing. I'm going to beat him as quickly as I can down to below half health so that we skip a big chunk. Normally, Turles would start with the whole, like, my name is Turles part. But because we're getting him down to below half health, Elder Kai is going to say, like, in fact, he looks just like Goku. And then it's going to jump immediately to Goku saying he looks just like me for some reason. Yeah. So if we hadn't gotten Turles down to half health before that Elder Kai line finished, then we would have had to deal with Turles' whole monologue. But instead, right before this part, like this fight fades, you'll see him say, my name is Turles, I've been watching you fight, or whatever, and then it will transition. So one of those little things. And that's why, even though, you know, leveling up with Tosok does obviously take time, I think it's worth doing just to better ensure that, like, those two fights go well. Because if you don't get them to under half health in that time, you know, like either of them, then you just lost almost a minute, you know? And when you're really going for those, like, those PB times, every bit you can save counts, and a minute is, you know, fairly significant. So there's still things that I want to experiment with, of course, and see what I can cut back on. But, you know, that's one of the things. But then, too, even aside from that, just being at a higher level makes these fights faster. So this part with Nappa and Vegeta, and actually every mission in this split from, like, this point on, you just have to beat them as quickly as possible. It's not a matter of waiting for dialogue. It's just kill them quickly. And so here, this fight was actually pretty bad for me. You can see, like, Nappa kind of got away from me a little bit, and then here, Vegeta, you can see I'm just going to be missing. See, usually, a good fight of this for me is I beat Vegeta when Nappa is saying what. And so you can see how long ago that's already passed. But whatever, he's dead. We're moving on now. So now we get to fight their Great Ape forms.
Fantastic.
Now, I'm not amazing at the Great Ape forms. The main thing that you want to do here, as far as I know, is you want to use... Oh gosh, I don't even remember what it's called. So depending on, like, your race or the Super Soul that you have equipped, it changes your charged Ki Blast type. I think I have... What is it? The Bomb? I think it's Bomb Ki Blast. If you can identify that as Bomb, great. But you just want to fly up and you want to shoot them with it. So you charge up your Ki Blast and you shoot them, and you're hoping to aim for, like, the neck kind of area. But it's very powerful. They're very weak to it. And so if you do it well, you can one-cycle them. Because if you're not familiar with the Great Ape fights, first you have to get down that purple energy bar, and then they'll be vulnerable. Until that point, you just can't hurt them. So you get down the purple energy bar, and then you try to do just as much damage as possible in that time. And so when I say you can one-cycle them, I mean you only have to get down the energy bar once per enemy, and then you're good. A couple other things I've noticed about this fight is if you get rid of their purple energy bar while they're doing something else, there's a very good chance that they're going to fall flat on their face. And the issue with that is it takes them time to get back up. While they're getting up, they're invincible for some reason, but the energy bar, like the purple energy bar, is filling back up the entire time. So if I see an enemy, like, jumping, you know, to do their attack, like, I'll try to hold back, not throw an energy ball at them so I don't kill them, or, you know, like, get rid of that energy bar. But it can be a mess. So it's like the Great Ape fight, it's not hard, but I just feel like there's a good chance for things just to easily go wrong, even if just a little bit. But yeah. That was the Saiyan history split, so we're moving on from that. Now we're going to deal with... I believe this is where we go to the miniature time rifts, which is a little bit different for me. I'm pretty sure that I used to get the miniature time rifts after the Namekian history split. But I think with how I started to... I was going to say, I think with how I started to do things a little bit differently, but I don't even think that's the case. Maybe it has to do with your level? Couldn't tell you. Couldn't tell you, frankly. Before, I thought it had to do with how many missions you've done, but because I've dropped Piccolo's training mission in favor of just doing both of Raditz's instead of one of Piccolo's and one of Raditz's, maybe it does have to do with your level. See, look, we're learning even now. But yeah, it's time to visit the miniature time rifts. This is just something that you have to do. You have to go to each of them, like, warp on in, and then talk to that, I don't know, representative. They're like quintuplets or whatever. So you talk to him, just mash through that, you warp out, you go to the next miniature time rift, you talk to that one there, so on and so forth. None of those we will ever visit again, except for the Majin house. Because, you know, we need to go to Boo's house in order to do the transformation. But that's what each of these are basically for. They each have some little activity that you can do. And depending on the race that you're playing as, you'll want to go to like the respective miniature in order to unlock your transformation at some point in the story. Each transformation has their own requirement, which again is why I believe that Majin as a race is just the fastest race for the speedrun, because their requirement is just feed Boo a lot of food, which you can buy. So if you have a means of getting money, which you do, you only have to do one fight as opposed to like several.
Greetings.
Yeah, so we're almost done here. And then I will show you, I will show you. I do it in the run so you'll see it, but the process by which we get money in this race, or in this speedrun. So obviously you do get Zenny just as you beat missions, so you'll naturally, you know, gain some wealth. But the big thing that I found when I returned to this game after like a 2-year break while I was just doing college and other things, is that there are some NPCs just scattered across the map, and they unlock at different points with different requirements, that kind of thing. But they'll give you clothing that you can sell. So from this Hercules miniature rift platform, you just fly off the left side or the right side on your vehicle. You talk to him. He hates bitter people, so you do the anguish emote. You talk to him. As soon as he reacts, he gives you clothing. Then you can rush off, sell that clothing, and then this is where, again, the load times would be... It would be beneficial if I were on the PC or if I were on a PS5 or just some console that were faster than my PS4, because this is like the first issue PS4 kind of thing too. I think there was a faster version. I don't know. I've never been much of a Sony person. But you can see every time here, like I have to wait for it to autosave. The yes button doesn't light up right away. Things like that. But because we found the NPCs, they give you clothes. I say we, I did it. Because I found the NPCs that give you clothes, you can sell those. You buy levels here, and then later on, we'll talk to a different NPC that gives you different clothes. You can sell those. And then I've been following a strategy that Hatlord was using in his PC run, where he purchased an ultimate skill and a super soul. You'll see me use those here in this run as well. And then you can use the rest of that money to buy food for the Majin transformation. I do wonder how necessary the super soul and the ultimate skill are. Like, I'm tempted to go back and try without, just because it takes time, of course, to leave the time nest, to like fly back down to the shops, to purchase things, to equip things. And so it's a matter of, does it save more time to be able to use those skills or that super soul? And it must, right? But I'm not confident. Like, I think it does, because why else would he and I have gotten better times? But whatever. Anyway, back to the run. So I rush off to talk to the stylist, and then I talk to the multiplayer modes man. And that's because if you don't talk to them when you're out here, they will eventually, just at one point as you're doing story missions, pull you out of the time nest in order to talk to you, and then you just have to rush back in. And so, you know, every time you have to do unnecessary movements, obviously that takes time. And so if you talk to them now, while I'm already down there, then later on, he won't have to pull me out of the time nest. So boom, I save time. But now that we have purchased all those levels, we're going to customize our attributes. I did not mean to click on equipment. We need to boost our basic attacks, because that's our main way of fighting. And then I choose to boost my strike supers next, because I then prioritize Meteor Crash. I could be mistaken. Oh, and then I put on healing items just for safety. It technically takes time and you don't need to, but if you're having a good run and then you're about to die in a mission and you didn't equip healing items, you could be in trouble. And there was one point in this. There were 2 points. I actually used both of those healing items throughout this run. I think one time was closer than the other, and I don't know if either of them would have resulted in me actually dying, but it just, you know, it feels a little bit better to equip those. It takes a little time, sure, but you're given those for free. Like, you have to receive those items. There's really no way around it. So, why not? Little safety, doesn't hurt anybody. For this fight, you just have to fight Zarbon. So I just knocked Dodoria out of there, and I could have knocked him away faster, but you have to wait for dialogue to pass anyway before you can really fight. Zarbon says, you know, he could take care of this himself, and we're like, sure you can. And then we just immediately beat him, so that's cool. Oh, something else you might notice about this run. So you'll see that like all of my splits and the timer and everything, like it's shades of red and pink, right? Because I'm not doing as well as I did before. Just as a note, I'm using the same splits that I did for my PC attempts. I just have split for, you know, like a split for Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 as a whole. I haven't done anything about like PC versus console. And so again, with PC just having much faster loading times, you're going to see that throughout the run. There aren't going to be any yellows for one. There aren't going to be any greens. It's all going to be reds and pinks. Mostly reds, just so you're aware. With this fight, it really doesn't matter how well you do. It's really just a matter of they have to talk, and they talk a lot. So, I don't know, I beat him down. You could see that I fired a bunch of ki blasts at him. I'm stunning him with those, like, I just charge and hit X it stuns him for a moment, and then I grab him. I believe, is it 20? I think it's 20 ki blasts, it might be 25, but then you'll get a ki blaster little, like, you'll get points for that at the end, just like on the right side here when it tallies up your score. And then if you grab someone 3 times, you'll get grappler. Jeez. And again, why that's, I don't know if I'd say it's significant, but like, I guess the point of that is just, again, it affects your score, and your score is your experience in this game. And so particularly early on, I want to get as much experience as I can just to level up more and more, because, you know, the higher level you are, obviously, the easier these fights are going to be. And in cases where it's just a matter of killing your opponent like this, the faster you beat them, the faster you get to move on. So with that, the Namekian history split is over. Again, you can see that a lot of time has added on. Part of that is just because of like the load screens from, you know, cutscenes and like loading into the missions being slower because, you know, PS4 versus PC is just slower loading times. And part of that is because, you know, that was our big level up moment where we got the clothes from the NPC, we sold them, we used all that Zenny in order to purchase new levels from Tosak. And so each level, because of the autosave time being slower than on PC, it just adds a little bit of time for each individual level that we purchased. Unfortunately, there is not a way to purchase levels in bulk. So you just have to do it one at a time. So here, she pulls you out of the time nest just because, like, Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 sold, I believe, 10 million copies, which, good for them. And so she gives you, like, just a little gift. I don't think you can sell it or anything, and it doesn't give you any stat boosts. It's just, like, glasses that, you know, it's 10 million glasses. But I figured while I'm down there, because she pulls me out anyway, I'm just going to rush over to Raditz. I'll do his 2 training things in order to get 2 more TP medals. Because by this point, since I've already leveled up, I'm more powerful than I would have been at the very beginning of the run, and I can get through these fairly quickly. What I was doing before was I would do Yamcha's 2 training missions and Piccolo's first training mission, and then I would do Raditz's later on. But then I thought, like, well, I could just do Raditz's, like, both of his, because I just talk to him and then immediately talk to him again kind of thing, you know? Like, I'm already standing in front of him, I might as well just do a second mission. And if I were to do Piccolo's at the beginning of the run, which I was initially doing to boost my level higher for the parallel quest, you know, he has a relatively high health pool, like, just compared to Yamcha at least, and I'm weak at that point. So it takes longer. So I think that doing it this way is a little bit faster. Can I say for sure? Honestly, no. But I'm just going with my gut. Like, it makes sense to me that it would be faster to do the 2 Raditz like this than to do 1 Raditz and 1 Piccolo the way I had been. So here we are. Now, if you're using, like, Evil Explosion, obviously you need to fight Piccolo in order to get that skill. I'm pretty sure he's the one that gives that to you. But And I bring that up because Sage of Keyblades I saw in one of his runs, he was using it, which, good for him. By the way, he has, you know, or had, as of, you know, before this run, he had world record on console, but I still saw him playing a couple times. I wasn't able to watch, unfortunately, just due to being busy, but I just saw, like, the notification pop up. So, you know, good for him, because it's really easy to become complacent when you have world record in a series, in a game. So just, you know, good on him for still running anyway. Now, I hadn't done, like, a PC run in a while, and so, like, I'm not exempt from that, like, complacency kind of thing. I have at least been trying to figure out ways to do things faster, even if I haven't been applying them to, like, active runs until now. But just wanted to throw that out there. Good on him. So, not much to say with the Ginyu Force one. It's a mix between you need to beat them as quickly as possible, and you need to wait for dialogue to pass. And that really is what most of these fights boil down to in this game. So with this first one, we just need to beat Recoome as quickly. I mean, it doesn't matter who you, like, the order that you do it in. I do Recoome just because I start locked onto him. You beat him as quickly as possible, and then you move right on to Guldo, just do the same thing. And there you go. There's that first fight over with.
Fantastic.
And then with this next fight, this is where we see an instance of, well, they're invincible now because dialogue needs to pass. But of course, and I didn't mention this before, so I'll mention it now. When enemies are invincible because, you know, dialogue needs to pass, you're still vulnerable. They can still hurt you. And so you can beat someone down, like, as much as possible, and then you can still die while they're invincible. And I think that that's just a garbage part of the game, frankly. I think it's really dumb, because the very last fight, I guess technically the second to last fight, but it's the final split of this run. There's one point where, you know, dialogue needs to pass, and so the enemy's invincible, but you're also invincible, and that's the only fight where that's the case. And so it's like, clearly, they're capable of doing that, making it so, you know, if the enemy's invincible, so are you. And then they just choose not to? So I think it's dumb. Because it's not even supposed to be a thing where it's like, oh, look, they're so tough and intimidating, they're invincible right now. Because even right here, Elder Kai is like, look, they're panicking. Like, they're... And Jace is like, how could I be beaten by a blob? It's... Ugh. But you can see, once you get Birder down to that sliver of health, it cuts off whatever dialogue was going on, and Supreme Kai of Time starts talking. So it's things like that. That was an accidental. I was just mashing start to skip cutscene, you know. This is another case where you just need to beat someone all the way down as quickly as possible. Then you can see Goku jumps immediately to his line. And you can leave Jace completely unharmed here. I'm pretty sure it doesn't matter at all. I think just once the dialogue finishes, it moves on, but I don't know, I keep fighting anyway, because why not?
This is all because of my training.
But yeah, now Captain Ginyu arrives. Trunks is an idiot. So I don't know Trunks in the show. I have only seen up through the Frieza saga, and then I reached, like, Garlic Jr., and I was like, I need a break, and I just never started again. I intend to, but I never started again. But from what I've learned in this game, through speedrunning in particular, is just Trunks is... I hate Trunks. He just because of fighting. And whenever I say I hate characters in this game, it's mostly because, like Trunks and Adult Gohan, for instance, you'll be getting an enemy in a combo, and it's going fine, and then your ally will just rush in and knock them out of the combo, and then not even follow up on it. Like, they only messed you up. They didn't even continue to fight the enemy. But yeah, here once again, Ginyu is invincible at this point. Jace is invincible at one point, or at this point. So I'm just like doing my grappler stuff and my key blaster stuff in order to get more experience. But you need to wait for the scene to transition. Okay, so now that it's transitioned, Ginyu is still invincible, but Jace is not. So we'll kill Jace really quickly. There we go. And now we just need to wait for a certain bit of dialogue. I think that was the third throw of mine. So I got that in. Now I'm just chilling. Because there's no point in me fighting anymore. There's a scouter. You can see their levels and their moves.
Whatever. Let's take care of those guys.
And we just need to wait for Trunks to have his line. Like, well, not exactly. Oh, this is embarrassing, or whatever it is. And then we can rush in and fight, because it's right after that line that Ginyu becomes vulnerable again. So you see me prepping for it. So this was actually an interesting run for me. Again, dialogue plays a big part where, you know, people are invincible until like a certain line or whatever. And when you're on like loading screens between missions, you can also tell kind of where you're going to end up based upon the music that begins playing, or like when a loading screen is almost finished based upon the music that's playing or whatnot. And so sound cues are actually somewhat important. I played this run with everything basically muted. Like obviously you can hear music in this video, but I was just in a Discord call with my older brother while I was doing this run. Like he was playing Monster Hunter World, I was playing this, we were just chatting as we did it. So that's why, you know, like one of the reasons why I don't have any live commentary for this run. But yeah, with the way that like my capture card works for the PS4, I would have had to wear 2 headphones at the same time in order to both be on Discord and to hear the game. So I just chose to not hear the game. Which definitely made some parts interesting, but clearly I made do well enough, so I'm not complaining. But yeah, this is an unskippable little cutscene about the Hero Coliseum, which I have never tried before in my life. I have no idea what it's like, but you have to see it. So you're just like, yep, cool. And then you rush off to a transfer shop clerk, or you can just, if you have this vehicle, you can just immediately use it and rush back up to the time nest. When I timed them, I believe the comparison was like any difference was pretty negligible. In general, I prefer to rush back to a transfer shop clerk, but if you just want to use that vehicle to go straight up to the time nest, I think that's perfectly fine. Like, even if there was a difference, I think it was just a matter of, like, 1 or 2 seconds, and I couldn't even tell you which way that leaned at this point, or if it was just, you know, maybe user error or that kind of thing, right? I guess, on that note, it might be more consistent to just use the vehicle to go up the stairs, because otherwise you run the risk of, like, running into just NPCs standing in a triangle. Anyway, this is one of those fights where you need to get Frieza down to a certain point of health so that he'll start saying, "This will be your final warning." Once he says that, then it's just a matter of time before the fight ends. But you need him to reach that point of health so that he says that bit of dialogue and starts off this dialogue chain. Otherwise, he has a lot more to say, and then if you just were to keep waiting, there'd just be silence as you fought him, you know? Like, no one would be saying anything. I'm pretty sure that's how it works. I haven't, like, waited specifically to see, but yeah. So I get my Key Blaster in, I do my throws for the grappler. Basically just that stuff. But you can see how beneficial it would be if someone were to find a way to be able to skip all of this extra dialogue, because it's like Frieza's been dead for a while, you know? Like, been down to that sliver of health for a good long time now. But we just have to wait in so many missions for like such a long time before we can actually progress with the story.
There's no time to be dawdling. It's an emergency.
Exactly. So just keep quiet and let me
Okay, so now we get to move on. Now we get to fight Turles and Slug. And we get to do it, you know, a few times.
Jeez.
You know how it is, just kind of recycling the enemies a bit, making them more powerful, like each successive time or whatever. But, you know, if those two are going after the Dragon Balls, then we gotta stop them, because that wouldn't be good to give them wishes. No siree. This fight is another case where it's just beat him down as much as you can, wait for a certain bit of dialogue to pass, that kind of thing. Like, they're just gonna be... Like, their health gets pretty low, not to a sliver, but pretty low. I base it more like around where their name is kind of thing. I think you could get down to, like, the beginning of Slug. Let's see. Yeah, see? Beginning of Slug, and then he can't take any more damage. So I'll just try to knock him away, and then I'll go and fight Turles in the same way. Something that I've been... I started this run, but something I was trying to do, just to, like, start a combo on people, is do, like, the AX or X square combo, you know, the thing where you rush up and kick them and knock them back. And then I would vanish behind them to start doing, like, my actual, like, power combo. And that works on some enemies, particularly the enemies early on. Frieza and Cooler, like, I found to be particularly difficult. Like, they just weren't susceptible to that because they would just block my incoming attack. But I think people just later in general, as the AI gets more intelligent, they block attacks more frequently, and it makes it more difficult for me. And then I also learned at one point, I believe during the run, that I don't need to vanish. I could just, if I time it right, I could do X square combo again and end up behind them, and then I could just start my triangle combo, which is good because that would save me a bar of stamina. For those unfamiliar, if you press X on PlayStation or like A on an Xbox controller, like that kind of thing, you'll do a vanish move, which is basically just like an instant teleport, right? If you're using it when, like, you're the aggressor, it takes 1 bar of stamina, which is, you know, the blue bar underneath my name. You can see it refilling now. If you're using it when you're being attacked, when you're the defender, it takes 2 bars of stamina. So you kind of have to... You have to try to just maintain that, I guess, as well as you can. Or, you know, just be aware that, like, if you use stamina too early on when you're fighting, if they start getting, you know, like, to really beat on you, you're not going to be able to, like, vanish out of the way. You can see here, this is Toa's doing. Once that happens, then they're vulnerable. So you knock them both out. Then you move on. Now you're fighting them again, just they're, you know, supposedly more powerful. Like, they're back at full health. You are not. So that's interesting. Oh, but another thing I've also definitely been doing, and this I found more success with than, like, the X square combo to knock them back and then vanishing behind them, is just I do my power combo. It ends with that spike move. You know, I send them down toward the ground or whatever. I vanish immediately and then start attacking just to connect with them again. It's particularly useful, I found, in, like, arenas where the ground is really far away, so, like, a lot of the sky maps or that kind of thing. Or just if I'm, you know, if we've been flying in the air and I don't trust that they would hit the ground before they got to recover, or if I would be able to reach them with just a simple, like, you know, tap left trigger and forward to dash. So it's been useful. Yeah, and that was kind of dumb of me. Like, I think he was using his ultimate and I moved in front of him. I didn't mean to exactly, but I did. But then he didn't fire it off. So that much was good. Okay, but Turles and Slug, they're done with. That was the last of them. And so now we get to go back to the Frieza part of the Frieza saga. And this is the interesting one, where, like, this is the only mission in this game that is like this. But we need Frieza to kill Vegeta. That's the only way to move on from this mission, as far as I've been made aware. I have tried my best to actually fight Frieza and beat him, and I was unable to. Like, you can get in one hit basically, and then he's invincible. And so I just fly off to the side so that Frieza has like fewer people to deal with, like to potentially target. And then I tend to watch through the scouter, you know, because you can see their outlines at least through walls and whatnot. And at the beginning it looked like it was going well because Vegeta seemed to be losing. But then Frieza's like Vegeta, you could see him like hanging around me for some reason. And Frieza starts fighting other people, and then when Vegeta starts fighting Frieza, Vegeta actually does well. See, Vegeta's at low health right now. But then you'll see how much dialogue actually passes before he actually dies.
I'll show you something great. Wait a minute. You really believe you can beat Frieza? Sorta.
You're really confident.
Yeah, you can see me getting impatient.
Or perhaps
Like, can't you just tell?
crazy.
I'm like, come on, die.
Smile while you still can.
Like, I hope that Vegeta dies by the time that Elder Kai is saying Toa is secretly lending him strength. And so that took so much longer.
You have lost the will to fight.
With this one, we need to get Frieza just down to a certain amount of health, and, you know, as quickly as possible, right there, to move on to the next phase. It's basically the same thing. We get him down as quickly as possible, and then Goku will say, "Can I ask you to do something?" Otherwise, there will be this sad part where Vegeta is like basically pleading for Goku, you know, to beat Frieza. I think it's sad. Because, you know, that means a lot for Vegeta to start begging someone else, right? Like his pride, wow. But if you just get Frieza down low enough, Goku starts talking, it jumps immediately to that bit of dialogue, and then you need to wait for that to run out. As you saw with that next bit, again, you just beat Frieza as quickly as possible to a certain threshold, and then we move on to the next bit. Now, this is where Goku goes Super Saiyan for the first time, yay! So, everything is clean, you know, clean slate, so I have no ki, I have full stamina, we're all full health, that kind of thing. Beat Frieza as quickly as possible, basically to death, not quite, but basically, and then we can move on. So with this bit, you know, you just want to start a combo with him as quickly as you can, and that was a fast Frieza fight for me. Like I was just able to get him going really quickly, and so I was very satisfied with that particular
How strong
fight.
do you have to get before you're
Now we get to fight Frieza and Cooler at the same time, with Super Saiyan Goku as our ally, in the exploding Namek. Namek isn't doing too well right now. So first we need to get just one of them down to a certain amount of health, and then we'll transition the scene. And this is where they bulk up and they change their forms, you know? Like both of them do. And now we need to actually knock out both of them. The faster we can knock them out, the faster it ends. Just as soon as you kill them, they're dead. When you accidentally charge into someone's ultimate that wasn't aimed at you, it feels bad. I didn't do great this fight. You see, I vanished behind him. I'm really afraid of like just the Frieza race in general. They just like whack behind themselves and it stuns you for a moment. So I kept trying to like dash backward to avoid it, but he would never do it then. And so I would just be wasting my stamina vanishing and then wasting time in like rushing backwards. Thankfully, he started ultimating right in front of me, so I can just do a fully charged power attack to stun him. And when you do that, when you do a fully charged power attack while they're doing their ultimate, their stamina's broken. You could see it was red and rebuilding at that point. And so that lets me get in like a good combo, because one of the biggest weaknesses... Oh, I didn't mention this part actually, but you might have noticed, with the Majin, they have an infinite combo. It involves like doing the full power combo, just like mashing Y, and then after you knock them down, you tap the key button to send out a single blast of ki. You do a quick dash where you either like hold left trigger and tap forward, or you hold forward and tap left trigger basically. But yeah, you dash down to meet them, and then you restart the combo again. And there are like a couple variations of it, but it's basically that. So it's essentially an infinite combo, but its weakness really is the enemy can just vanish out of it at any point. But if they have no stamina, then they obviously can't vanish. So it's great. But there goes the Frieza Saga split. So that's good. Now we're going to be moving into the Cell Saga split, and this is where I adopt one of the tactics that Hat Lord was using. And this is where, before the Cell Saga split, he left the Time Nest in order to go to the store and buy Giant Storm, an ultimate attack. I think it's Nappa's ultimate attack, but I don't know for sure. I mean, the good news is you're already out of the Time Nest at least, because you can fly now. Like, once you beat the Frieza Saga, you're given your permit to fly basically through the city. So we rush down, we talk to him. He's like, aren't vehicles cool? And you're like, yeah, they are. And then he gives you clothes. So you go and you sell those clothes because you don't need clothes. You're a proud Majin. You came with clothes. So just sell them for some quick zenny. I mean, 4 pieces for 32,000 each. Like, it's a pretty good haul. But yeah, you buy Giant Storm. You rush back to a transfer shop clerk. I don't know why I jumped in a vehicle instead of flying, but I did. So Time Nest, rush back in. Before talking to Elder Kai or Trunks, I don't remember who it is here. Okay, Elder Kai. To start the next mission, you want to make sure that you actually equip the skill that you got, and don't do equipment like I did again on accident. But you equip that, and then you're good to go. So why Giant Storm is useful? It's just like it's a fairly big AoE ultimate that doesn't take too long to launch. It costs 3 bars of ki, and so, you know, depending on obviously the enemy's health, you can potentially kill multiple targets at once. There are a few instances in this run where, you know, that could be useful. The first one being in the Cell Saga. I mean, I say the very first instance is the second time that you're fighting the Cell Juniors. This fight also wasn't my best Android 17 fight. Or maybe even like the first Cell fights either. I don't recall for sure, but just seeing him running away and getting me with an attack, it wasn't the best I've ever done there. But yeah, the Cell Junior fight, that's a good candidate for like the first time to really use Giant Storm. You'll see me attempt it, I'm pretty sure, in this. But it's really meant for the metal coolers. And then you'll see it again used later on in the Golden Frieza split. And I think that's the last time I did it. Here we just need to beat Cell down to a sliver of health. So there we go. 16's real mad. Or sorry, 17's real mad.
Gee.
16 is the one that talks way too much, as we will see soon enough in the Cell Saga split. Just when you're fighting the Cell Juniors, he and Hercule just talk for way too long. Like, Hercule, and Gohan just have this whole bit, you know. Which is fine, like, I get it, it's story, it's from the show and everything. But, you know, when I've already beaten everyone in like the, you know, in the fight, I just want to move on to the next mission as quickly as possible. Okay, so unfortunately, this is one of those things, another thing you can't avoid. He yanks you out just to tell you about this cool new thing, you know, and it sucks. And he's not on the map earlier. Like before, until this happens, he's not on the map. So unlike the Stylist and the multiplayer modes, man, you can't talk to him ahead of time from what I found, to make it so he doesn't yank you out of the Time Nest. So you just smash through the text as best you can, and you fly back in, you just resume. It's dumb, but so far there's not a way around that, so you just gotta deal with it. Also worth noting, at least on PC, like on the Steam version, I'm not sure about on PS4 or other consoles because I didn't test it, but if you play in online mode, you'll be yanked out another time so they can tell you about like the new voting thing that they came up with, so you can vote on like future updates. So at least if you're playing on Steam, you want to make sure that you play in offline mode, and then that won't affect you. It just won't come up. Because obviously you want to minimize the times you're needlessly pulled out of the time nest, you know, as much as you can. So this is another part, I believe you just want to get Mira down to a certain amount of health, basically to where his name starts, and then Goku will start this bit of dialogue. And then, you know, it's a matter of time until it ends. So you basically have to kill Mira as quickly as possible.
Stay out of my way, value.
Sal and Goku.
Okay, Mira's down. So now it's actually time to fight the Cell Juniors.
Jeez.
So in this upcoming fight, there are 4 enemies on the map. There's Cell himself, and then 3 Cell Juniors. You can just ignore Cell. Beating him does not do anything. In fact, you can't finish him off. But the Cell Juniors, as soon as you finish the 3 of them off, well, then it has a whole cutscene. And so I guess it's mostly dependent on dialogue again. But then there's a fight after that, where it's once again like the 4 of them. And then that time, the faster you beat the 3 Cell Juniors, the faster you move on. So you can beat them with 2 full combos. I missed the final hit for some reason. So when he just had a sliver of health left, I left him be. I figured there was a good chance that I'd kill him more quickly later on than just risk hunting him down, you know? So the train got in my way that time, but whatever. Here we have the beginning of Android 16's long monologue. It's not a monologue, it's a dialogue, but whatever. A 4th Cell Junior spawns at this point, just so you still have something to do, I guess? Like during the dialogue. Because you can't kill this one. This one's invincible once you get to a sliver of health. So, you know, I'm just focusing on my Ki Blaster and getting my grappler thing for just a little bit of extra experience. At this point in the run, I don't think it terribly matters, frankly, but it just kind of gives me something to do, too, while I wait. Because as you can see, the dialogue is still going. He talks so much. Like Cell's line at the end, I agree with. He's still going. Oh my god. I'm sure in the show it's like some emotional thing, right? But here I'm just like, please stop. Okay, but at this point, you need to just kill the Cell Juniors as quickly as possible. Since they start bunched up, I figured I would try this. I just immediately used Giant Storm. I killed one of them at least, so it wasn't a waste. I don't think it was necessarily faster than if I'd just done a normal, you know, like set of attacks on him, but I figured it was worth a try. And once again, like one of the Cell Juniors survived with a little bit of health, but I figured I'll just leave him be, and I was hoping that like my AI teammates would finish him off. They did not. But that's okay. I mean, like, I wasn't expecting it. It was just like, if you happen to hit him and kill him, that'd be cool. And it's fine that they didn't. But yeah, you'll notice too throughout this run, sometimes you start the fights with a clean slate of like health and Ki and everything. So like your Ki's 0, your stamina's full, your health is full. Other times you'll start where all of your stuff carried over. So like that was one instance where all of my stuff carried over with the Cell Juniors. I had full Ki. Here I have no Ki. So you just need to start with actually like punching and stuff. You can't use any of your skills. And that's fine. But here we have the first instance of Metal Coolers, and we have 2 more instances immediately after this. So this first time we have to beat 8 of them, then we'll have to beat 10 of them, then we'll have to beat 12 of them. Because I guess they thought that would be fun. They don't all spawn at the same time, like not all 8 of them are alive at once. So, I don't know, you find them as quickly as you can, you beat them as quickly as you can. You listen to the dope music that plays. I think this is probably my favorite track in the game. But yeah, when I load in, you'll see me try to do Giant Storm again. But I don't just try to use Giant Storm immediately, I also try to make it so I'm not locked onto anyone. And then I just kind of fire in general. And when you're the only target on the map, the enemies tend to kind of like circle around you waiting for you to do something, right? Or trying to find an opening to get in and hit you. And so, you know, if I'm not locked onto anyone, I'll just hope that they're circling me, and I'll launch it. And, you know, between those two ultimate attacks, I was able to kill 5 of the 10. And so I think that that's pretty good. So here, I make sure that I'm up back to 3 key bars, and then same thing here. I lock off of the person I'm automatically targeting, and then I'm going to use Giant Storm again to see if I can get another bit of, you know, significant payoff. Trunks is here on the map now too with me, so it's not just me versus them. But let's see how I do. We killed 1. So again, I think a lot of that is just the fact that there's a new combatant for them to circle around, so they're not all focused on me. And that really comes into play too in the Golden Frieza Saga. Like that split where I would try the same Giant Storm technique. It just doesn't work out as well. And that's where I wonder if it would be faster just to attack by other means, but I'm not sure.
She's a brilliant scientist, and I've always loved messing with machines.
Come on, hit him. You can do it. All right, good work, me. So just 3 more. See if I can hit anyone. Nope. So that was just wasted time right there. Wasted time and key. But that's a risky run. Like, sometimes you kill multiple at a time with it, and sometimes you kill nothing. And obviously, it sucks when you kill nothing, because it really is just wasted time and key. But I guess sometimes you just have to take that risk. You know, without the risk, there's just no reward, I guess. But yeah, I think there is some strategy to it, as far as, like, you know, again, not being locked on to people. But there's definitely luck involved too. Like, just whether or not people were around, like in front of you when you were doing that. Whether or not they were blocking. Because they can just straight up block your ultimate attack and take like no damage from it. It's done.
Oh, thanks to my returning to health from a near-death has only made me even more powerful.
This fight is just, you need to beat Cell as quickly as possible. Nothing special to it. There's no dialogue, at least, so that's nice. It's just kill him, you know. Sometimes he cooperates more than others. And there we go. So I tend to mark my splits on the clear, if you haven't noticed. But we got the clear there. We marked our split. We're moving on to Android 16 and Mira. That's what that A16 AM means in the splits. I don't know if anyone's paying attention to those names, but just in case. Now, of course, it's a little misleading because it's not just Android 16 and Mira, but I understand the need for just condensing things. I took all of these splits and the split names from Hatlord. He was the person from whom I learned the run when I was first starting. And then since then, you know, I've made some changes to it. You know, just kind of to suit my own needs to try to go faster. But in general, yeah. So like I said at the beginning of this run, when, yeah, like the first time that Yamcha's training mission comes up, you just have to do it. Drop whatever you're doing, do Yamcha's thing, because otherwise you might not get another chance. And that's the only way basically that you can PB. Like, if you don't get Yamcha's training mission and you have to do 10 additional missions to get the, you know, required TP medals, you're just not gonna have a good time. Because I would say, like, on average, each extra mission you do is like another minute added onto your time. And so obviously that is not conducive to a good time in the end. But the point of me bringing that up is, after you've done Yamcha's like turtle hunt throw thing for the first time, you don't need to do any more. In fact, I would say don't do any more. Like, you'll still get more TP medals, And so, you know, if there were a way to use them to speed up the run, like, great. But the most I figure you could do at this point is use those TP medals to buy clothes, to sell, to purchase more levels. But I don't think that it's worth purchasing levels after the very first time that you do it with like the Namek history split. So really, when he has multiple classes, it's kind of just a waste of time because it's another box that you have to click through, like another thing the game has to load. I don't think it's a ton of time, obviously, just to click through that one box, but technically, it's something more. This is one of those fights where your allies can be really annoying. This is where I like hate future Gohan, much like I hate Trunks in the missions where you have to fight alongside him, just because I'll oftentimes be in a good combo or whatever, and then they'll run in and just blast them away. Or like I'll start doing my Meteor Crash on them, and then they'll use like Kamehameha or something and knock them back away. It's basically just whenever they knock them away from me when I'm trying to do something. And there you see, I tried to grab him. Gohan grabbed him first. How dare he? Nothing against them as characters, like within the lore or anything. Just, it's really obnoxious when they impede my run.
What are you doing? I thought you...
Okay. Samir's down. So now we have another fight with Android 16. And then we have a fight with Android 16 and Cell.
Cauliflower, over here!
Oh, what gives, Kale?
So here we go. Android 16 fight. It's weird to me that we're fighting with Trunks from the future, except that the Trunks that we know is from the further future, right? Like the more distant future? But this is called Future Trunks. I don't know. I haven't watched that far in the show, so I can't say for sure. But yeah, after we beat Android 16 that first time, then we have to beat him on a team with Cell. Like, they're on a team. I'm not on a team with Cell. And usually this fight doesn't go poorly for me, and this time I don't believe it went poorly either. The run I had before this, they completely beat me up, so it really just... Sometimes you can just get really unlucky with fights. Like, they blocked everything that I was trying to do. I got knocked into, like, an ultimate combo. Like, first... Android 16's ultimate hit me, and then just as that ended, I got blasted by Cell's Kamehameha. Or Kamehameha, I guess. I guess it depends on whether you're looking at English or Japanese. But anyway, that was that fight. There's that split. So next is the expert missions, and this is another mandatory thing. It's basically like the very first parallel quest, how you have to do that, just to introduce you to parallel quests in general. Now, Supreme Kai of Time is going to introduce us to expert missions in general. Another Yamcha class, yeah. I mean, and another thing too with this is like, I don't know why you have to talk to him again just to see a couple other cutscenes. Why didn't they just tack those cutscenes on to the end of that fight with Android 16 and Cell? I don't understand it. But there's not another fight here until the expert missions. You just have to talk to him just to see those cutscenes. And then we jump back and Supreme Kai of Time takes over. So there are two expert mission tutorials that we basically have to do. One of them is against a great ape, and the other one is just against a villain, you know? So it'll be I think it's Grade 8 Nappa, and then you fight against Turles. Not that it matters terribly, just saying. And it's just to show you how expert missions tend to go. So you'll get to see, like, what happens when you get, you know, locked into the Shadow Realm, basically, you know, where you have to fight, like, the dark version of yourself. And then what happens when other players, like, on your team are in the same situation, so you have to beat them up to break them out of it, basically, if you don't break the Dark Crystal ahead of time, like, before it's too late. So we'll get to see that. Nothing you can do about this, and no one's going to save you. You just get to be thrown into the Shadow Realm. I don't know if this is like some known pocket dimension within the show's lore or anything. Just, yeah. You beat the Shadow Patroller as quickly as possible. And then you're free. You're back out, and you get to fight the Great Ape along with all your allies. I mean, you would be able to if it weren't for, you know, more tutorial stuff to do. So here it's saying, like, look, this is what happens when it's happening to someone else. You can... Oh, it's not a Dark Crystal here, right. You can just punch them, and it'll break them out of it, like, snap them out of the trance. But if you do that, then you have to go through this bit where they actually do become dark. And so instead, you just wait for them to actually be taken over, and then you beat them up. And I learned that from Sage of Keyblades and Lord Pixel, so thank you for letting me know. At least I'm pretty sure it was them. I've gotten advice like from those two and from Hat Lord. Sometimes it's hard, like I get it mixed up who I learned what from. But I think those two were the ones that told me about this. So as soon as it shows like the scene of him jumping up, I start holding like the button to charge your Key Blast. And then as soon as the target appears on the, you know, the giant key ball, I just let go of the button, so my character throws it off screen. It seems to work. And there we go. First expert mission tutorial down. Now again, we have one more to do, and once I reach clear on that second one, that's when I mark the split. You have to talk to Elder or Supreme Kai of Time afterward, just for her to like sign off on the fact that you did the two of them, and then you can go and do more story missions.
Have you been to
But,
the
yeah.
Zero Coliseum yet?
So this expert mission tutorial, it shows you much the same thing, but it's a little different. Like instead of being banished to the Shadow Realm, you're just kind of sent elsewhere, and you don't fight a shadow version of yourself, you fight other things. So like in this one, we'll fight a Cyberman. If you're doing traditional expert missions, it could just be like any assortment of villains, you know? That's the Dark Crystal I was referring to from earlier. But nothing special here. You beat up the Cybermen as quickly as possible. With my build, you can just lock on and do your consecutive energy blast. And as long as they all hit, like, it'll kill it. I don't know why they didn't hit, really, but... Then you rush back. And now you need to save the other people who were in a similar situation. And to do that, you just fly and destroy those dark crystals. So the fastest way I've found to do it is you charge them, hit X when you make contact, and then you can do a series of... I say hit X. I'm used to playing on an Xbox controller. You do your light attack, and then a series of heavy attacks. And then it's like, team up against him! Blast him to death! So there he goes. And that's the second tutorial. But as far as like the fastest way to beat the dark crystals, I don't know, if you're doing a different kind of build and you have like a long range attack, that might be better than having to fly all the way over to him. But I don't know. this is the fastest build that I'm aware of, you know? So you turn around, you fly back, and you talk to Supreme Kai of Time. She signs off. You're good to go. So you head back into the Time Nest and start the next split. For mine, it's labeled BS. It's actually labeled Boo Saga and Janemba. But, you know, Live Split thinks that that's a long title, so it shortens it to just BS, and honestly, like, that's fair. I can't say I disagree necessarily. Like, it's a fine split. It's not too much more difficult than others. But yeah. So you'll get Broly down to a certain amount of health, and then he'll be invincible. Once again, you will not be, so you still have to kind of be careful. But it's just a matter of waiting for Vegeta to finish talking. It doesn't do you any good to go and fight the other people. You just have to wait.
Even you are vulnerable when you're not being careful. I release Majin Buu, so I'll deal with it. After that, we'll have our fight. Assuming I'm still alive.
Now, we want to beat Broly as quickly as possible, just flat out, you know, knock him out. And then we go and help Buu. Again, down to a certain point of health, and then dialogue will start, and then we just have to wait for that to finish. That was bad timing. But see there, this was what I was saying, like the later fights, I try to use my like Russian attack, like the knockback one, just to start my combo, but the later enemies start blocking that like a lot more consistently. So I revert back to my I zoom toward them. Yeah. And I don't know what happened there, but I didn't become candy, so I'm glad for it. Got to fight him just a little bit more, you know. I was curious about that objective screen, you know, so I pulled it up again, but I was already candy by that point. I do wonder, though, if that has something to do with it. Now we're moving on. Yet another Yamcha class. It can be really... The run can be really frustrating because you need Yamcha to appear one time before the 15 TP metal split. You can see that coming up just after the Buu Saga split. And when he does show up, you need him to throw the stone in a place where you can quickly grab it and give it to him in time to get 10 TP metals. Because if you're too slow, he'll give you 6. If you're really slow, he'll give you 3, like that kind of thing, you know. There are runs where he just refuses to show up at all. And then there are runs like this one where he shows up like 4 times over the course of the run. And you only need him that once, you know? So it would be nice if he were just consistent and like he would appear once every run, but it just doesn't work out that way. You know, a couple years ago with this game, the run used to require Yamcha to appear twice over the course of the run. First for the TP medals, and then to provide you with, you know, more TP medals so you could use those medals to buy clothes, to sell for Zenny, to buy food for the transformation. But now that we found that NPCs can just give you clothes, like which ones to talk to and when to talk to them, you don't need that anymore. And then Hatlord refined it a little bit further. So like I found the NPCs with clothes, and then Hatlord realized like, wait, we don't need to just give them the expensive food. We could just give them 99 water and 2 chocolate, and it'll work just the same. So obviously you need to give him a little bit more food, but it's so much cheaper. Because we used to give him like friggin' giant crabs, you know, and they were just so much more expensive in comparison. So being able to just give him water and then like 2 chocolate in the end, that made it a lot easier on the wallet. Okay, so that's the last we see of Broly. Now we just need to help finish off Super Boo here. I mean, really, we just need to wait for them to finish talking, but... Super Boo's going down. Then we have Janemba. We get to fight him twice, basically. First, it's just us and Janemba, and then we have Vegeta on our side, and the hope is that Vegeta never touches him, basically. I mean, if you get unfortunate enough that you get stuck in like a, you know, Janemba starts comboing on you, then you want Vegeta to rush in and like break you out of the combo. But overall, and that's just how it is with allies in general, overall, you want them to have nothing to do with the fight, just leave you alone with the other person, you know? Because too often, they get in your way more than they help. And there we go. So on the clear, mark the split. Boom, moving on. So with the 15 TP medal split, I already have the 15 TP medals. And so, you know, I'm ready to go as quickly as soon as I can. Just gotta wait for the loading screens, and then I can run back in and talk to Elder Kai. But, loading screens. They take their time. Also, yeah, for having 15 TP medals, he then gives you 3 more TP medals. I don't know. You can use them. I mean, you know, like if you're doing this, if you're playing casually, obviously TP medals have like a lot more use because you can buy extra skills with them or whatnot. There's a specific TP medal store that changes its wares like on certain days. I don't know. But in the run, there really isn't a use for TP medals anymore. It's really just for that split. If it weren't for that split, I wouldn't bother with TP medals at all myself. Also, I got the powerful hit off to, you know, break his stamina, but I still got hurt by the ultimate. So that was a little unfortunate. This Kid Buu fight, from what I remember, didn't go, you know, as well as I would have hoped. It wasn't terrible, but it didn't go as well as I hoped. What I remember, and we'll see if I'm right, is Kid Buu was like really close. Okay, so there's a point of health around like his name as far as the health bar is concerned. You need to weaken him too, and then Hercule will start talking. And once Hercule starts talking, that's basically the timer leading up to the end of the mission. And so I almost had Kid Buu down far enough, and then I just couldn't hurt him again for a while? Like you can see it happening here. Like he's so close to being at the health we need him at. But I can't hit him. It was really frustrating. All of this extra time that was added on, and you see I just needed that little bit, and then Hercule started talking. So it's good to know like those health thresholds so you know how weak you need to get the enemies, like to trigger the end of the fight. But at the same time, it makes it even more frustrating when you're so close to that threshold and you just can't get a single hit in. Like, I could have played that better, I know I could have, but yeah. Was not my best performance. So, mark the split on clear. Next we have BAB, which is not base attack bonus, but Bardock and Beerus, even though really you fight Bardock and then Mira, and then Beerus. It's BMAB. And you don't even go back to the time nest, and so, you know, I would if I were to rework the splits, I think I would include Kid Buu in the same split as Bardock and Beerus, and Mira. Just because you move straight from this into the Bardock fight, so why not? But I haven't bothered to change my splits, because, you know, if you change one split, it affects every split after that, because then, you know, it doesn't really know how to read, like, the time. But this is one of those cases where I do my strength combo, my power hit combo, and then I vanish down to meet them, and then I just continue the combo. Sometimes it works really well. Like, I had one fight against Bardock here, where I was able to do that just until he died. You know, here, like, I did get a lot of hits in, but then he got away a couple times, you know? But once, yeah, it was so clean. I just, like, I hit him, I vanished, I hit him, and then he was dead. And then I had no stamina against Mira, like here, and so I can't, like, get away from him. So maybe I need to rework some of that, but you know, you see the basic idea.
Now there's another one.
Those evasives, man. Vanishing and evasives, like the two weaknesses, which both, again, require stamina. So if you can break their stamina, that's great. But I never try the actual stamina break move, because I'm very bad at getting it off. Maybe I need to work on that. That could be the next big thing. I was not expecting him to shoot it up at me, by the way. I thought I was safe up there. I was not. I just break people's stamina when they're doing their ultimate attacks, and I get a power attack on, or off on them.
I happen to be enjoying it, and I won't allow any distraction.
Okay, so there's Mira. So now we just have Beerus, and then after we beat him and the clear shows up, we can mark our
All
split.
because of my training. The last time he was this epic, he extinguished his sons. Supreme Kai of Time, your cooking is the cause of this. It's driven the god of destruction.
So it's just I basically want to do the power attack vanish combo until I get them to the bottom of the map, which again is just harder to tell on the sky or space missions. Because then, you know, they'll bounce off the bottom and I can just do my normal combo without having to use stamina. The issue is that Whis sometimes is a douche, and he'll just knock people away, or Beerus specifically. And that can be frustrating, because then, you know, we're no longer close enough to the ground, he's out of my combo, I have to try to reconnect, get it going again. So, like, I broke his stamina there, and then I think Whis comes in and knocks him away again. Yep, there he goes. So, like, I could have gotten another couple combos off in that time, but nope, Whis had to try to be a good friend, and yeah. Your NPC allies are typically more annoying than not. They just, yeah. There are times for sure where they help. If you're caught in an ultimate or in a nasty combo, and then they hit the opponent, that's great, it helps. But otherwise, typically, they just get in the way. No way to turn them off or anything, so you just have to deal with it. So yeah, that was the end of that split. Next up, we have the Golden Frieza split. This, again, is where I use the Giant Storm ultimate attack. But in conjunction with that, we get and this is, again, following Hat Lord's tactic, we buy the Super Soul, like I hope you're reborn as something better or something like that, you know. You get it after, I'm pretty sure after you beat Kid Buu. So it's not like available in the store before then. So we'll fly down. We have enough money. We'll just buy it from the item shop. And then what I want to do while I'm down here is also buy food. And again, that's 99 water and 2 chocolate. And then we warp up to the Majin Buu house and do the transformation. But I forgot. So, yeah. So we'll have to do that later. You'll see me do it like at the transformation split. And I was really upset at myself during this run, like while actually doing it, that I forgot to do the transformation during this part here. But whatever, like it worked out well enough. But I think it would save time to do the transformation split here. Or not the split necessarily, but just like get the transformation here instead of later on. Because like you're already going out of the time nest and down to the shop, you know, to get the Super Soul. And so, like, while you're there, you might as well also buy the food. And then while you're there, you might as well also, like, talk to this transfer shop clerk, go to the Majin house, do the transformation thing really quickly, because you're going to have to do it at some point anyway. But instead, because I'm putting it off, like, I'm having to leave the time nest again, you know? So I figure that must take more time. So that's something that I would change, that I wish I had remembered in this run, but oh well.
In the meantime, I'll amuse myself.
So this time I tried to regulate, or like more carefully choose when to use Giant Storm. Like I didn't just try to use it against anyone. If I could, I would do most of a combo and then finish them off with Meteor Crash, because then I would be, you know, my ki would be fully refilled. And then when I see a cluster, that's when I would try to use Giant Storm. But you see there, they all blocked it, so it didn't even work out for me anyway. Basically, I think that if you're locked onto someone, they're more likely to block. If you're not locked on and you just do it and they happen to be in the way, they're more likely to die. I could be wrong, that's just how it seems to me. So that's why, like with the Metal Coolers, I was specifically trying not to be locked onto people, you know? But yeah, at this point, we're just trying to kill 15 of his minions, Frieza's minions, as quickly as possible. He broke my stamina, so there's nothing I could do there. I just have to take these hits. And he vanished at the perfect time. And that's the hard part about Giant Storm, just bring it up again. It's possible that you'll kill like 3-4 people in one ultimate attack, right? But it's also very possible that you'll kill no one. And just with the time it takes to launch the attack, it's difficult to say whether it's always truly worth it. It's just something that I'm still like struggling with internally, like whether I want to keep trying to use that tactic as frequently as I do. I mean, again, it's really just on the Metal Cooler parts and then on that minion part, but still. Something I'm thinking about.
Beyond our understanding. We all rush him.
Leave me out of this one. I've done enough to do as it is.
Hey, Goku is ready for instant transmission, so raise your power as high as it'll go.
All right, let's do it.
Every time. Seriously.
Oh, you're calling.
So, we have basically 2 more fights, kind of 3 more fights. First we have to fight Frieza, or Golden Frieza, on his own, and then he's joined by Metal Cooler. And then we have to skip through a bunch of cutscenes, and then we fight Golden Frieza and Metal Cooler again. So it's at the clear after that second fight with them that we'll finish this split and move on. But it can be difficult because they block a lot, and they vanish a lot, and just, like that kind of thing in general. They're really good evasively. And then when you finally do get something going, like, Blue Goku or Blue Vegeta, they'll come in and they'll ruin it. Vegeta's not here yet. Vegeta will come here when Cooler's here as well. So now it's a 3-on-2 fight with, your team having the advantage. But that doesn't always mean a ton. So a lot of these fights, for me at least, is just trying to connect and trying to get a combo going, but it can be really difficult. So Golden Frieza's down, Metal Cooler's up. So now that means 3 people are going to be fighting him, so I have to compete even more for Metal Cooler's attention. What I would typically like for this kind of fight is, Goku and Vegeta to team up against one of them, and to leave the second one for me, so that, I can beat him at my own pace and my own way, that kind of thing. And that hopefully by the time I'm finished, the 2 of them together would have sufficiently weakened, Frieza or Cooler, whoever they were focusing on, so that I can more quickly finish them off. But it rarely goes that way.
Good, but not perfect.
So this is where we have to skip a bunch of cutscenes. It's a pain. I mean, it's a pain on PC too, but on PS4 where the load times are even longer, it's more of a pain. Because you're just sitting here on a white screen, watching the time. Because every time I'm on a loading screen, I'm staring at the timer. That's just how I do it. Because I'm just constantly waiting, like, am I doing well? I can't tell. Everything is red. All the numbers look bad, So it's not great for anxiety. It's a bit stress-inducing, but here we are. So once again, we just get to beat them as quickly as possible, and then we can move on.
You're the best. You will not be getting another try at that little trick. Powered up. Go and help Goku and my dad.
That's right. Now you get on with all the trouble.
I don't think it'll be that easy. This time, I'll make sure you don't come back.
Their methods are, of course, but they're much stronger than before. Even Goku and Vegeta in their current state will have a hard time.
Yeah, I guess so.
Hey, aren't you gonna help them?
The fight is a fight. This one isn't mine to butt into. I'm only here for two, but I suppose I'll cheer them on. It's the end of the line, Frieza!
No, this can't be.
You're both winning. Make sure I never...
Just desperately trying to get in damage where I can with my consecutive energy blasts. Because sometimes that's faster than trying to chase them down. But it's far too easy for that to be blocked or for it to just flat out miss. Either way though, that split is over. We have Whis Training coming up. Which is just, in the time nest, instead of like where we usually talk to either Elder Kai or Trunks to start the next mission, we'll go to the right where Whis is waiting. We talk to him, we fight him. It's cool. There's nothing more to it. You beat him and then you move on.
people of Kanton City. Have you been to the Hero Coliseum yet? There you can enjoy explosive figure battles using the state-of-the-art battle simulator. You've got all kinds of hero
So
figures
finally
at
I
your
decided to
disposal,
spend
and you can
my
use them to
attribute
combine them in
points.
any way you see fit.
It's one of those things that's difficult to say whether it's entirely worth it, because obviously it takes time to stop, pull up the start menu, add the points in. Thankfully on PS4, for some reason, like compared to the Switch, because I've also done a run on the Switch to see. Yes, I purchased the game 3 times. And on the PC, like adding the points in the PS4 is really fast. You should, if you're not familiar, you should watch a run on the PC, and you can see just like it takes a lot longer for the points to actually add up. But anyway, even with that, it takes time to add the points, and I wonder if it's worth doing. Also, you saw me there, I was trying, if you do like that charge kind of attack, and then you hit X or A, like the vanish button again, you're supposed to like whoosh behind them, and when they're doing their ultimate attack, it'll just instantly break their stamina. For some reason, it didn't count the vanish button that I pressed, so it just did the rush thing, so I got hit by the last bit of his ultimate anyway. And he didn't get his stamina broken, of course, so it was bad on multiple counts. Same thing here. I tried it again, it didn't work. Let me use a healing item just to be safe. Yep. And then we'll rush in and continue to fight.
I'll play with you for a little while.
But there he goes. Now we move on back to normal missions. I mean, you could technically call that a normal mission, but I don't know, you talk to Whis and he's off on the right for some reason, so it's weird. But this one we need to fight Bardock and Mira and the hero that Toa has influenced with the use of her mask. So, you know, he's fighting on their side. Not much to it, you just beat him up. I will say with the fight, when the hero is actually present, you're fighting against the hero and Toa on a team. You can ignore Toa entirely. The fight will end as soon as you defeat the hero. And the hero is the one that you pick, like, to be the holographic statue at the beginning of the game. So, yeah, you can ignore Toa, just focus on the hero. The issue is, you know, Toa can still fight, and her ultimate can heal the hero, so that can be obnoxious, but in general it's faster just to ignore Toa entirely. Just to mention something that I tested, like I had to do a full run to test this, you know, because this fight's like near the end. I specifically picked a hero based upon like their race's known attributes. If you weren't aware, different races have different attributes. Like Saiyans, I'm pretty sure the lower health they are, the more powerful their basic attacks are, or something like that, you know. So different races just have different stats. So I picked a hero based upon what I thought would be like the most optimal stats for this upcoming fight, so just like I'd have the easiest time killing them, basically. But it turns out, while those kind of inherent stats might be the same, their health and their ki are locked, it looks like. Like the health and the ki of the male Earthling hero, like the default one that we pick here, it's the same as the health and the ki and the stamina of the female Saiyan that I believe I picked for the test. So technically, based upon their inherent abilities, if that actually is a thing with these, it still might be worthwhile to pick a different hero. But I couldn't tell, frankly. I think more than anything, it might be what moveset are you most comfortable fighting against. Because I'm pretty sure those are different. At least their combos are different. But maybe their skills are the same. It's hard to say. I only tested it that once, and it's been a while now, so I don't remember everything. I remember I was disappointed with the results, and I kind of left it at that. Once again, I tried to do the stamina breaking thing. Didn't work. We can see that Toa did cast her healing, but thankfully it didn't affect the hero. He wasn't healed at all. So he's dead. We can mark the split. Now we have the transformation. Again, I wish that I had done this earlier, before doing the Golden Frieza, or like when the Golden Frieza split was technically running, but before I actually went in to do the fights. But I forgot, and so we just get to do it now. We'll start off in the time nest. We have to leave, go back down to the shops. We'll buy 99 water and 2 chocolate. And then we'll go straight to the mini, rift, the time miniature, whatever, and get that going. Can you tell that this is unscripted? Like, entirely? I'm just watching the video and talking about it. I hope it's been educational or enjoyable in some way.
We have nice new items.
I forgot where the food was, so that wasn't ideal. Like, I went to the right, which was the longest way, I believe, to get to food. But yeah, 99 water, 2 chocolate. Byakuas, for each child that, like, Majin needs to create, he needs 34 water. But you can only hold 99 of each item in a stack. And you can only have, like, 1 stack of each thing at a time. So, the max water you can hold at once is 99. So instead, for the first child, we give him 34 water. And then for the second, we give him 34 water. And then for the third, we give him 32 water, or 31, because that's all we have left. And then we give him the 2 chocolate to, like, just finish filling the energy bar that he needs, basically. Because once he has 3 children, assuming you're a Majin, you can unlock the transformation. You have to fight him. It's not just he gives it to you, mind you. But you'll see, like, a green question mark appear above his head. And if you talk to him, you can actually start that fight. So this first bit, you just need to get Majin Buu down to a certain amount of health. Pretty typical of this game. But I guess it's a fighting game, so what do you expect, right? Once you get to that point, like, he'll be invincible, and you just have to wait for the trigger. This is like here. You'll be refilled fully on Ki, and now we can... Okay, not fully. But you can access Purification. And so this is the Purification form. It's a Majin transformation. You just become Kid Buu. I'm not a fan of it, really. My current tactic with it is just spamming triangle, like the heavy attack. If you're far away from whoever you're locked onto, you'll do this, like the spinny charge forward thing right here. And you just bash into him. I don't even think it does damage. I could be wrong. I don't know. Okay, I guess it does some. But I really just want to get them into powerful combo. That's all it is. If someone is weak enough, and if they're like particularly far away, then I might spam the basic Ki Blast attack, which is like he opens up a portal and shoves his foot through it and he just kicks them over and over again, which is weird to me, but it's surprisingly powerful. But up to that point, it's just trying to dodge them. And you do this. And this part annoyed me, if I'm remembering the timing right. Yep. He starts using his ultimate. I use my evasive. It doesn't do anything. He gets the ultimate off anyway, so not only does it waste time because I have to sit through this animation, but he also healed some. Thankfully, you know, one combo was still enough to finish him off at that health, but it was still annoying. Like, what's the point of using the evasive if it doesn't help me evade? Okay, so one more small Majin Buu to go. Something I learned and that other people might find beneficial to know, you don't have to fight them all as the purified form. Like, I could switch back to be the, you know, normal patroller, but you have to deal the finishing blow to each of them as purified form. So I did try like once or twice to switch back and forth, but ultimately I've just been sticking as, you know, Kid Buu, normal purification form, and just trying to spam the heavy attack. And it's worked out okay. You know, it hasn't been like the best, but oh well. So now we're in the final two splits. We have Toa, and then we have Final Battle. Like, and this is it. This is the end of the run. So now that we have unlocked the purification form, like our unique race transformation, and I say that because there are other transformations you could get, like Kaioken, that are applicable to every race. Those don't count for, you know, being able to progress the story. You actually need your race-specific transformation. But now that we have that, we don't need to equip it or anything. We can just run right on in, move in, do the Toa fight. I don't believe I said this yet, so I'll say it now. Well, again, I know I've said this part. Dragon Ball Xenoverse 2 was split between the PC and the consoles, even though I think that consoles themselves should be split or that load time should be removed overall, and we should just look at how quickly you beat the individual matches. But that would take, like, you know, a lot of self-timing. We would have to manually remove all the load times because there's not a way currently to do that automatically. But Sage of Keyblades, a previous world record holder, was 2 hours, 1 minute, and 8 seconds, if I'm remembering correctly, and I believe that I am. And so, at this point, I'm getting pretty tense, because it's like, it's possible that I could do it, but, you know, we're getting closer and closer to that time. So there goes Toa. On the clear, we mark the split, and we're moving on. So, Final Battle, this is the last split. It technically contains 3 fights. The first one doesn't terribly matter. Like, you still have to beat Mira, you know, down to a certain amount of health, but it really, it's the longest bit of dialogue in the game, I think. And you just have to sit through it. Thankfully, this is the fight where once he's invincible, you're also invincible. But you don't have to rush him down like a terrible ton this first phase because you have so much dialogue like to fight him during that you should be okay.
You don't know what
But if you want to be like me and be lazy, still get him down as quickly as possible because, I mean, one, it's good practice to just fight your best, however that looks. But then two, you can just set the controller down and watch him beat you up and you won't actually be taking any damage. But again, that's once he reaches the point where he's invincible, then you are too. It's the only fight in the game that works that way. So he's invincible now. So let's just get some Ki Blasts off. Doesn't matter, but why not? Now I'm just gonna chill. This is the time in the run where, like, I'll pull out my phone and check messages or you know,
Granted you such abilities as this?
I mean, I usually won't grab a drink because I still don't, I'm afraid I'll be late. But, you know, if you have water handy, like, absolutely take a drink.
Put a lot of thought into what he was.
But you'll see, the dialogue will just go on forever.
I didn't. Of course. It was fighting spirit. The will to stand up against any foe without fear. A being like me, born into incredible power, is deprived of such a spirit. I can no longer call myself destroyed. Because this fight will take me to a whole new level.
Look out! You're overheating! You're going past your limits! You have to stop me. It's too dangerous! He can't hear me. If he doesn't stop, his core will overload and destroy this universe. Maybe I should just run. No! There's no telling how large this explosion might be. If it's able to tear through dimensions, and breaks through this egg, then we're poached. You there! If you don't stop Mira soon, then we'll all go up in smoke. I lend you my aid. Just hurry and put an end to this recklessness.
Okay, so now in the second fight, it actually does matter. Like, these last two fights, it totally matters how quickly you beat him. The third fight in particular, actually, which I didn't know for the longest time because I'm not great at it. So finally, I was able to get that charge and then vanish attack off, where you appear behind them and you break their stamina. So that was good. Them having broken stamina these last two fights is super important, because otherwise, you know, they're really good at dodging and blocking, just being evasive in general. And so if you can make it so they're basically helpless before you, it's beautiful, you know? So there goes the second phase of Mira. Now for the final phase, the furry phase, Furry Mira. You're mashing start to skip the cutscene, and then you're good, you're going. So apparently, if you beat this one fast enough, the cutscene at the end will be different. I'm not sure how fast you have to beat it. I think I've only gotten it once ever. But like, I'm kind of okay with that because I frankly like the normal cutscene better, where you're actually working with Goku. But in the other one, you do it all on your own. Like, you do the Dragon Punch kind of thing. But I like seeing Mira, like, drift through the giant, you know, Kamehameha wave. So anyway, you could see earlier when he was doing like his blue razor kind of attack, I tried to stamina break him, but I guess he disappears during that because I didn't actually connect with anything and the attack continued, you know? But I tried. The second phase obviously has like easier ultimates to do that on. I don't know if you can stamina break him during an ultimate in this phase.
Keep struggling for me. Seems a bit, doesn't it? Well, I am using full power.
So we're getting down. This timer doesn't come on clear. It comes on the final hit, which I'm always bad at judging, but it's right there. So basically 2 hours, 27 seconds. And there we go. That was the run. So again, the previous world record was 2 hours, 1 minute, 8 seconds. So I got the record by 41 seconds. It's not a ton, but given the load differences between PS4 and PS5, you know, it makes sense. Like, I'm content with it just because I know that I'm using an older console with different load times. Yeah. You see, I like this cutscene as it is. You and Goku actually working together and you getting the finishing blow on him, I think it's cool. And the other one, like, it's cool the other one I like because you know that you did well in the fight, like, you beat it really quickly. But I think it's creepy how everyone is just suddenly there and, like, grinning at you, especially freaking Gotenks. Like, ugh, stop it, please. But, yeah. So again, I also have currently the world record for this game on the PC. If you want to check that out, I'll leave I mean, it's the same thing with like basically same commentary, but I'll leave a link to the description. You can find the leaderboards there as well. But thank you guys for watching. I hope you enjoyed. And with that, have a good one, everybody.